So once again, I welcome you to Unity Spiritual Center of Panama City, and a warm welcome to our online community as well. This morning, we continue on our 12-part series of our 12 powers, the internal programming that we all arrived with, may not necessarily use to the best of our technological ability, but we came as a complete package. The foundational principles of this study are derived from Charles Fillmore, co-founder of Unity, and his book, The 12 Powers of Man, published in 1930. And as I have said to you before, a complete study of this work can be an ongoing process. There are so many integral details of each and every power, too many to cover in just a 25-minute segment of time on a Sunday morning. And so I invite you to be curious, to expand your inner child and that curious nature to identify, what else can I learn that she's not sharing? Because there is oh so much more than what I can share with you on a Sunday morning. It's critical to know that even though we are isolating and identifying one of the 12 powers in each of our week's topics, they all work together as an integral whole, each supporting one another and embracing one another to be more powerful and more balanced, which is the goal, to really know and identify what is the balanced expression of each one of these powers. Because when it's expressed in a healthy manner, we know that life feels balanced in the outer as well as in the inner. And that is good. So we want to know exactly, what does it look like when something is balanced? Or what does it look like when something is underdeveloped or overdeveloped? Each one of these powers, we will discuss exactly what it looks like. Because as I say, behavior is communication. So you communicate to yourself sometimes by recognizing and paying attention to, what is it you're doing? This is an important part of our life experience. Attention is key. So last week we talked about and explored the power of strength. Strength is the ability to endure, to persevere. It's about being persistent and following through. The metaphysical meaning of strength is the energy of God, freedom from weakness, stability of character, the power to withstand temptation unless chocolate is involved, and the capacity to accomplish. There you all know my greatest weakness now. Strength is physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual. Each and every one of those attributes of the human expression has an element of strength. Sometimes underdeveloped, sometimes overdeveloped. But it is present. All strength has its origins in spirit. The outer thoughts, words, expression, our behavior, those are manifestations of the internal attribute or power. As with all things, as spiritual beings having a human experience, God, divine life, is the source of our being. And only through spiritual strength do we remain steadfast and non-resistant to what life has to offer. And we can be triumphant over any perceived challenge. I said perceived. Key. So our spiritual strength must be developed, which is why we are working on this series. If we are to each individually and collectively grow and expand and evolve in our spiritual process, we need to know the nitty-gritty of how it works. We all love cake, or so I've observed on birthday Sunday, and so it's important to know how to make the cake. What's in the cake? Is it wheat flour or is it rice flour? Is it an egg? Is it sugar? And is it chocolate? So this past week, you had homework. If we are to grow in our potential and co-create a harmonious life for ourselves, let alone the rest of the world, we need to be mindful. I said that attention is the key. Where we put our thoughts creates our environment. We come back to that again and again and again. Am I alone in that? No, I didn't think so. So where we put our faith and strength combinations, week 1 and week 2, faith had to be studied first because it is the foundation. Strength had to be studied second so that the faith was strengthened in order to be steadfast to move beyond and into the next 10 of your 12 powers. So during your time of homework and paying attention and being mindful to what is going on in your life, ask yourself, did you recognize the activity of spirit in your life at least once? In our busyness of day-to-day activity, we sometimes as human beings think that we're the ones in charge, which can be true. We'll get to that when we talk about the power of will. But we need to acknowledge the spiritual underlying programming that is running underneath all of our thoughts and behaviors. The divine energy actively at work. So did you use that supportive strength faculty to act in a bold way in this past week? Did you call upon that strength to do something, to go where no man or woman has gone before? Sometimes walking out the door can take that level of spiritual and personal strength. Or, flip side to that coin, did you use your underdeveloped strength to not follow through on something that you said you would or wouldn't do, or thought about, yeah, that might be a good idea, but you know, I'd rather be a couch potato? Is that where you applied your strength? Or did you put it in a jar labeled weakness, indecision, overwhelm? These are the places that we put our underdeveloped or overdeveloped strength. Don't forget, we're looking for balance here. Something I've been chasing for a number of years. I'm still here on the planet, so I must have more work to do. So each and every week I have encouraged you to identify one area of your life in which to apply these teachings, of which to consciously and attentively and intentionally put these tools to work. Could be finances, could be relationships. Only you know, but it is you that does know. We are all working on something. You get to choose how you use it with each and every thought, with each and every breath. So let's add some wisdom to the mix. Wisdom is the ability to judge, to evaluate, to discern, to appraise, and to apply all that is known. Outer knowledge as well as inner knowledge. So wisdom and judgment, before I go, wisdom and judgment are like interwoven. It's the yin-yang. Judgment, as I'll get to in a minute, has a negative connotation to it these days. So I'm here to show you how it will benefit you. So wisdom and judgment are interchangeable words from a source of spiritual truth. Maybe not in our outer social environment, but on an inner level, they are connected and interchangeable. So, the metaphysical meaning of judgment is the mental act of evaluation through comparison and contrast. We teach that to the littles down the hall. Is it hot? Is it cold? Is it blue? Is it red? Is it ice? Is it water? So that metaphysical discernment, that spiritual discernment comes from the inner voice, the still small voice within. It helps us to understand and to realize things on a greater level. Judgment is the faculty of the mind that can be exercised in two ways: from sense, ego-based perception, or spiritual perception. If the actions come from sense perception, ego understanding, they're typically fallible. That level of our ego-based wisdom, I can only speak for myself, has gotten me in trouble a few times. Are you with me there? I've thought so, but I didn't want to assume. That fallible wisdom can be a source of condemnation, self-judgment. There's that judgment word with the negative connotation. But when I use that inner wisdom and judgment on a spiritual level, then the decisions that I make are wiser, safer. It's what in Bible speak they call righteous judgment. I know we don't do Bible speak very much, but it's important to know that righteous judgment means right thinking, in alignment with the indwelling presence of God within you. That's what righteous judgment means. You can all take a deep breath now. Yeah. Because those words trigger us based on previous experiences or previous teachings. So righteous judgment is actually very safe. Can you breathe into that? Yeah. We love when we can put a healing salve on an old idea. So the metaphysical meaning of wisdom is the intuitive knowing, the spiritual intuition, the voice of God as understanding. It's our mental action from the Christ presence within, our higher self, our most awake self, our spiritual self. Wisdom includes judgment, discrimination, intuition, and all the departments of mind that come under the topic of knowing. It is this knowing that transcends our life experience, and it transcends human intelligence, the book learning. Spiritual wisdom and spiritual discernment is more powerful, more clear, more true than human brain power intelligence. Now, each and every cell in our body has intelligence, so we need to listen and acknowledge the innate wisdom of every cell in our being. We're just so surrounded by intelligence, we're like fish in a water bowl. We don't even know it's there. One of the prices that we must pay for the conscious attainment of divine wisdom is letting the ego go, releasing and allowing ourselves to tap into that right knowing, that intuitive wisdom, the presence of the divine within us. Unity principle number 1 and 2 says that we are divine beings. You feeling it? That's your homework this week. So when I say the price we must pay for the conscious attainment of divine wisdom and understanding is the letting go of our personal ego-based self and its limiting beliefs, note that I say conscious attainment. Our unconscious attainment doesn't happen. We have to be consciously aware of our thoughts and our words and our actions and our behavior and how we allow life to affect us. In Ephesians chapter 5, verse 17, Paul saw that the Christ consciousness was waiting at the door of each and every soul. And he said in Scripture, "Awake, you that sleep, and rise from the dead, and the Christ shall shine from within." Now, you all know that I have like 20 different Bibles, and I like to mix them up. So the Message version speaks a little bit differently, but let me not skip over this word dead. Awake you that sleep and rise from the dead, and the Christ shall shine from within. Metaphysically, the meaning of the word dead in Scripture describes those who are of unconscious truth. So that's why it's so important for us to be mindful and attentive and consciously choosing our thoughts, words, and actions. When we are behaving from an unconscious process, we are no more than the walking dead. And you know, in this culture, we love those zombie movies. Do we really need to expand and explore on the unconsciousness in our world and society? Maybe it's just me. I'll take a cat video over a zombie movie any day. But I digress. The Message version of that scripture reads, "Don't live carelessly, unthinkingly. Make sure you understand what the divine wants you to express." You got it? This is why I read multiple versions of the Bible. And so in our own personal meditation time, when we focus on the inner energy center, which is the solar plexus, the pit of the stomach, we also attune ourselves to what is known as our gut wisdom. I'm sure you've heard someone say to you, "What does your gut say?" Trust your gut. That innate wisdom within you knows all. The definition of judgment from the dictionary speaks about processing and forming an opinion. To use discernment to be guided by our own inner judgment and wisdom. Here's where the flip side of that coin can get a little tricky. It is also, judgment, a formal utterance of authoritative opinion. Keyword, authoritative opinion. Or a decision made by the higher court. Now, most Unity people, we're not very keen on authoritative opinion. Would you not agree? Yeah, I knew that that one would resonate with your heart. And so we want to use our innate wisdom so effectively in our lives that we don't need an authoritative outer judge or court or system to tell us what is the right and perfect thing to do. Would you not agree? Yeah. Because that is so very Unity. And here's where it gets even trickier. You thought that one was a doozy. Wait till you hear this one. You might want to breathe first. Okay. The final judging of humankind by God as sinners awaiting judgment. Breathe again. Yeah. Because that idea of judgment, the word judgment, is so attached to the fundamentalist teaching of Judgment Day, of what it is to, be separated, sinners and saints. We are all sinners and we are all saints. It's the yin-yang of being the human being and of having the human experience. So, gratefully, Judgment Day is not a Unity teaching. You can all take a big sigh of relief. However, that energy, that philosophy is in race consciousness. It is in our society. It is in the world. It is an idea. And ideas can be changed, or you wouldn't be here sitting in this room. It is an idea that you were exposed to for many, many years. It's what we call embedded theology. It's running on the subconscious level. Just like our divine attributes are running on a subconscious level, race consciousness and the teachings of our embedded theology are also running on a subconscious level. You get to choose which one to tap into. So in the social energy of our world, the term judgment gets a bad rap. The negative contents or connotation of the word judge and the word judgment. It's not a bad thing. It's about using our innate wisdom to discern, to separate the good experiences, the bad experiences for you and you alone based on your connection to the divine. You get to separate the good ideas that will uplift your life and your environment and the bad ideas that won't uplift and bless your environment. I get to choose mine, you get to choose yours. So whatever we do choose, we can use it in a judgmental, negative connotation type of way. We can use judgment with malice to cause harm and injury to ourselves and others. Or you can use judgment empowered with the divine presence to choose wisely, to co-create a harmonious world, to uplift your life, to make a new choice, to make higher choices. Which brings us to damage. What is the damage we want to do with our choice? Do we want to create any damage at all? The root word for condemn or damn means damage. Strong judgments of a critical nature create damage. Not just for those who you are giving them to, but it damages our self if we are the deliverer of this negative energy. And so I encourage you to use your spiritual power of wisdom and judgment very cautiously. To breathe into the conscious connection of the divine when you're making your choices. And if you don't want to cause damage, then cause healing. The first law of healing from Proverbs chapter 23, verse 7 says, "As he thinketh within himself, so is he." And what that means is that as we think within our own minds, so do we think in our body. Don't forget that I mentioned that each one of our cells has the innate wisdom of the universe in it. That's a lot of cells with a lot of wisdom in you. And so whatever is going on in the intelligence of our mind and in our cellular body also is reflected in our digestive system. You know, that pit of the stomach here, the energy center of the solar plexus where the location of this power center is, you know your thoughts make your stomach upset, right? If you're in a worry kind of place, you're going to have a little rumbly in the tumbly. And when things are smooth and balanced, life is good. Our digestion is good. So whatever is going on in the solar plexus region acts as a mirror to tell us our thoughts. The communication of our body is communication to you, saying, hey, hello, wake up. Pay attention to what's going on here. All of our emotional imbalances can be felt in the stomach area. For centuries, doctors have called this area the body brain, not really knowing about the intelligence in the cells, just recognizing how it communicates. And so it's important to understand that balanced wisdom and judgment is the ability to make decisions, to discern what's the highest and best for you from what may not be the highest and best for you. To choose good friends, to choose good environments, choose good movies and books. Surround yourself with that which will uplift you. And apply what you learn from principle, universal law, and truth. Wisdom is the ability to know and apply. Two-step process. So underdeveloped wisdom and judgment shows up as indecisiveness, wishy-washy. They can't figure out the good from the bad. And this individual may choose to have friends and people in their lives that take advantage of them. Or they could be the type of person who defers all their decisions to their parents or their spouse or even their kids. That's underdeveloped. If wisdom and judgment is overdeveloped, it shows up as being highly judgmental, opinionated, discriminatory, racist, sexist, speciesist. I'm married to an animal lover. Racism of any kind is separation of the us and them. There is no us and them, and it's all God, just in a different package. So when our wisdom or judgment is overdeveloped, this individual can be super picky. You all know who I'm talking about. And they find fault everywhere. There's no possible good anywhere. We all have someone like that in our lives. This solar plexus energy also is in alignment with the Eastern teaching of the navel chakra. Not all of the 12 powers line up with the 7 major chakras in the physical body. This one, however, does. It's very confusing to people who are newcomers to the 12 powers. But even in the teachings about the navel chakra, it says when it is in balance, you feel in control of your life. And if it's underactive, you're being passive and indecisive. If it's overactive, you're being domineering and possibly aggressive. So even the description of how the energy that moves through our solar plexus works is similar in the Eastern and Western teachings. So the question for us becomes, how am I using this gift of judgment and wisdom? Am I aware of this innate ability in my daily activities and language? The ability to judge, to discern, to appraise. How are you using that gift in your life? Can you discern easily between two things? Or do you have trouble making a decision? There is no wrong choice. Know that first, and then decisions become easier. Because each and every choice we make with our lives puts us onto the next step for our continued soul's learning and growth and expansion. And so I surround you, dear ones, with the spiritual strength of your innate wisdom. You have it. You came with it. It's up to you to use it. Choose wisely. Namaste.